Well, I'm not a professor. I started my career as a stockbroker. Then wanted to innovate something, wanted to do something different. That's why I took up the course of behavioral finance in 2000. That time what used to happen was, the tech boom was there. And every day, stocks would start going up. I would advise my clients from all what I had learned in schools and colleges about rationality, efficient market theory. And I would tell them, well, this is very expensive stock, you sell it. After a week, they would come back, Parag, good I didn't listen to you, because I did not sell it, and now the stock has doubled. So I would say, well, I was wrong that time, but now I'll be dead right. Again after 3 months, he'll come and tell me, well, it's tripled from that rate. I don't know how many of you were there during the tech boom. Very few. But it was crazy times that people were willing to pay anything which had a .com behind it. You need to start any company with a .com, and then you could go with a public issue and you would get subscriptions coming as if you were God's gift to mankind. Well, it went on for a year like this, and my frustration grew, because every day you are going wrong. And I didn't know whether I was out of the system and the world was going too fast, or the world was something which did not understand the basic universal principles. Then one day I was reading The Economist, and I came across an advertisement by the Kennedy School of Government at the Harvard School, which talked about a course of investment decisions and behavioral finance. Since my frustration knew no bounds in this place, I thought, let me take up this course. And I flew into Boston and took up this course. This was a very short course, but I took that course, and there where I interacted with this behavioral finance, behavioral economics professors, that time I knew that I had found the answer. And I'm sure that at the end of our 14 lectures, you would be really confident about taking on the world or the decisions of the world. The problem is, you are our future. You are going to go out in world and take on the challenges. What you are being taught today is competition. Actually, we should be teaching our children compassion. If you see the way the the IPL auction went on, it was like you are only creating envy, hatred, jealousy. Because one guy who is a nobody gets picked up for an X amount. So what do you create? You are only creating ripples. And how would those people react? Those people will also react through envy, jealousy, and trying to get your colleague down and you go up. Behavioral finance is a study of understanding what you are, what others are, how people make different types of decisions. In a larger way, we are going to cover this subject. And at every point of time, you would have confusion coming into you. Don't even worry about it. Because all these years, you have been taught, get the right exams, scores, you do this, and these things come. Behavioral finance is also not a science which has already been totally discovered. It is slowly being discovered. So there could be a lot of overlapping. And of course, there is no knowledge in this world where anybody can claim that I have all the knowledge. So in a sense, we all are ignorant. And with that ignorance, we are trying to work on certain things. So don't worry if you feel that what is it that I have been learning this and I have been taught this and what is this happening. Don't worry about it, because over a period of time it will ultimately go off. Secondly, is the main challenge in life is decision making. How are you going to make the decisions? This is what we are going to cover. That when you are under stress or when you are under risk, how do you make decisions? Behavioral finance is also going to talk about a lot of quizzes being offered to you. Mind you, be honest to yourself and answer those quizzes, because this is a place where I will not be able to judge anybody on your IQ scores, because we are talking about EQ. We are not talking about IQ. IQ is something, you have a score and then you give your exams and then someone tells you are better this. No. Here is, you are trying to find out how mentally suited you are to take on the challenges of life and how you can improve upon that. Every one of us is saying, would be thinking differently. Don't worry about it. If there are any questions, most welcome. And I would appreciate, you can call me by my name Parag. There's no need to call me sir or a professor, because I am not one. I am here to share my experiences in the stock market, experiences dealing with clients, experiences of investments, dealing with the bull and the bear markets, and my experience of I would say, going to these various behavioral finance classes, interacting with different professors, scholars, whom I have had the pleasure to meet with them, discuss with them, and their humility was such that at so many times they told me, well, I don't have an answer for that. And I think that's most important, to understand that nobody has answers for everything. So here, for the next 14 sessions, our relationship is going to be like friends. If you have any questions, you are free to ask. We'll have a lot of discussions which will go. And to start with, I want to ask you one very important question, is this thing, why are some people successful and why are some people failures? I think that's the initial beginning topic which I want to cover. Success and failure for all of us is very important in life. Why do people fail? People fail from within and not without. Economists say that the inability to delay gratification is primary reason for economic failure. People fail because in life they do what is actually fun and easy, rather than what is really hard and challenging, or necessary, I would say. They do what is tension relieving rather than what is goal achieving. That is the reason people fail. Success and failure are more the reason of a habit. 90% of what we do is actually dictated by our habits. It's our habits which make us do certain things. And these habits ultimately grow over a period of time. We eat the same foods, work in the same way, associated with the same people, act the same way when things happen to us over and over. We don't like to change. We always try to resist change. When a habit is formed, we become comfortable. And what is this economist call is, we get into the comfort zone. At every point of time, even most of you coming over here in this class, if you are coming every day, you will try to take the same seat which is there. You will not take another seat. You will try to take the same bench which is there, because it's a habit which has formed with you for so many years. We are always striving to be consistent on what we have done and said in the past. Because sometimes even we know that we are wrong, but we are reluctant to change. Because no, this is what we say. Because our ego comes in the way. Even if the comfort zone is keeping us in a low level, we choose to be in that same comfort level. What is important is you sow a thought and you reap an act. When you sow an act, you reap something like a habit, which is very important to understand, that it is your thoughts and your actions which are ultimately taking you forward. All understanding of human nature begins with the understanding the way we are, and it begins with an honest understanding of ourselves. The key is self-knowledge and self-awareness, and that is going to be the challenge which we are going to take in these 14 sessions. Let's look at some of the characteristics of human nature based on our study of human action. Study of human action is the study of what people do, what people say, or what people intend doing. It simply studies their actions, and it is only in studying the actions of people that we see what it is that they see, think, or mean, or intend doing. Now, let's see what we human beings actually are. We all are the same. We all are lazy. First thing when we study human action is we find that all human beings value leisure. All of us like to have a holiday. All of us like to take a vacation. All of us want to rest, don't want to do certain things. And it is because of this that we seek the easiest way to do anything. In fact, we are structured mentally in such a way that we cannot consciously choose a more difficult way to accomplish anything if we can choose something which is much more easier. Ask yourselves, the answer would be the same. So given a choice between an easier or a harder way, we will always choose the easier option. Because the sooner we get the job done, the sooner we can enjoy. So in a sense, we all are lazy. Now this laziness, it's neither good or bad. It is only what we do out of this laziness which makes the difference, which is good or bad. Laziness by itself is not good or bad because it's a part of the human nature. All human progress comes from people to seek faster and easier ways to get things what we want. So in a certain sense, laziness is definitely a motivator to human progress by the inventors who are making things much more easier for us. So I don't think that if we call ourselves lazy, we should feel bad about it. But it's how we use this laziness in things what we have to do, in the goals which we have to achieve, is what makes all the difference. Then we come to the second thing is greedy. This is our second characteristic, that we each try to get the most from the very least expenditure of money or efforts. Will you agree that we all are the same? You go to a grocery stores and you tell him, okay, I'll give you this, how much is this? And we're always bargaining because we always want for one. In fact, if you are given a choice of taking a job which gives you 500 rupees an hour against 700 rupees, everyone is going to choose the 700 rupees. Or if you're going to have two pieces of cake, one is larger or one is smaller, you're going to be asking for the larger piece of cake. So in a sense, the study of economics of all human action and study of economics itself is a study of the allocation of resources to get the possible output per unit per person. This is rational, sensible and appropriate human behavior because it is the efficient market theory that markets are efficient and people are rational human beings, always there to maximize profits or to maximize gain from whatever they spend. So there's nothing wrong to be greedy. We all are greedy. Don't you think that we find that we all of us are ultimately the same type? They say that people have different IQs, but ultimately we are the same type. Now we have the third quality is we all are ambitious. Each of us are always striving to improve the quality of our life. You'll agree with me. All human action is motivated by a desire for improvement in our conditions. In fact, we cannot consciously act to worsen our situation. Every person, even a person who jumps out of a building, that is when he is doing his suicide, at that point of time, he believes that that is the right thing to do. Even though then he feels he is better off jumping off the building rather than staying on the building. That is ambition of because we may not always succeed, but every action that we take is ultimately an attempt to be better off than we would be without action. In this sense, every human being is ambitious. We may be all ambitious for different reasons. We may have less opportunities which may come our way, but that does not mean that every human being is not ambitious. Sometimes you find that there are certain failures because maybe opportunities never came their way. They were ambitious and they always chose to be in the comfort zone. The fourth quality is selfishness. Now, we are always looking for our own purposes first. When there is a death of a dear friend, death of a family member, why do people cry? Because the first thing which comes in the mind is, oh, if he's not there, then what happens? First that grief comes. The grief is, what will happen to me? Even between a husband and a wife. Next, oh, now what will happen to me? So, in our innerest, the corest part, we are always thinking of ourselves. We are all selfish, centered on ourselves, living inside out. Everything we do, even acts of charity we do, in our personal opinion, at that moment, it is the very best thing to do if we are thinking about ourselves. Will my name come in the papers? Will my plaque come? How many people have given this, so I want to give this charity? Ultimately, at the end of the day, you are always thinking whether it's the I which is talking, it's your ego which is talking. Then, we all are ignorant. I just mentioned to you about ignorance. Nobody in the world can possibly know everything. So all the decisions, everything which we make is with half-baked knowledge. The degree of knowledge may differ from people to people, but ultimately it is only half-baked knowledge that we make information. And this is what I would call ignorance all around us. Everyone is ignorant, so never think that he is smart or I am not smart. Everyone is ignorant. With limited amount of resources, some people are able to market themselves properly, some people are not. And lastly, as human beings, we all have an ego. We always think very highly of ourselves. We consider ourselves superior to others in many ways in terms of intelligence, personality, appearance, wealth and so on. Over a period of these 14 sessions, I will prove it to you that when we do certain quizzes, how everyone is so overconfident of their abilities and the intelligence. In other words, we all are vain. This is also not good nor bad. It's just human nature. If this was not there, then the cosmetic industry, the furnishing industry, the garments industry, they will not survive because they cater to humans' vanity. Now, this is how we all are. Now, these 4 billion people throughout the world, they all are striving for also the same thing. You have 4 billion people who are lazy, greedy, selfish, ambitious, vain. They all are striving for security, comfort, leisure, love, respect, fulfillment. Security, why not? It's our basic need. It's our survival instinct. First is security of life we want. Then is of health we want. Then after physical security, we want economic security. Then emotional security. We want all these sort of securities. We value security very highly. And any threat to that security, they think, we will definitely rebound back. We will try to protect it under any means. In fact, lack of security or fear of having lack of security will make us angry, frightful, defensive. Secondly, human beings all are fighting for comfort. They all are striving for comfort. After we have achieved our security, we want our comfort level, especially physical comfort. And that's why we pay enormous prices to achieve our comforts. We go to 5-star hotels, we buy the best of the cars, we buy good houses. It's all because they think we want comfort. After our security, we want to see that our comforts are taken care of. Then we have leisure. As I told you, we are all lazy, so we all love leisure. And after security and comfort, we want to relax because we are lazy by nature. Holidays, golf, theatre, these are all where people spend enormous amounts because they want leisure. This is due to the fact that by definition, we are all lazy, and that is the reason we all like leisure and we are prepared to pay very highly for it. Then you have love. We all love people and we all like to be loved by people. This is something we desire so intently that we even die for it. Each of us needs to be loved, to feel fully human, and we strive for love all our lives. Then, we all require respect. We all seek respect. We need to be recognized and respected, not only by our family members, by people outside our family. And why do we do that? Because we are vain. We seek always praise and appreciation. Because by nature, our vanity demands that we have praise and appreciation. We will make great efforts to earn and keep the goodwill and respect of others. That's why we may lie, we may cheat, we may do a whole lot of things. As long as we are not caught, we always tell ourselves, well, we are respected. And lastly is fulfillment. We all need to leave a legacy. We all need to do something good that after we are not there, someone will remember us for that. And we all are looking at living here for a reason. There is a reason to live, there is a reason to survive, there is a reason to do something. And we are always living for a meaning and a purpose, all of us. And we are always looking, what are we capable of ultimately becoming in life? Now, if we have all these things, 4 billion people, they are made the same way. 4 billion people, they are trying to go and try to achieve the same things. What competition? So the human race, you and I, is made up of people who are basically lazy, greedy, ambitious, selfish, ignorant and vain. All of them after the same thing: security, comfort, leisure, love, respect and fulfillment. And here is the key point. The basic law of human nature is that people always tend to seek the fastest and the easiest way to get the things they want. And usually to get the things they want right now. Now, understand this. This is one of the basic reasons where you fall back in life. Although the environment is just now teaching you that you got to be running, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. But if all people are the same, if all people are striving for the same, how would you be able to differentiate yourself from the rest of the people? In fact, this is known as the expediency factor or the E factor. E factor is your ability or inability to delay instant gratification. Now, families, corporations, nations, they succeed and fail for only this reason, that certain things are done by people with an idea for short-term benefits, and they never look at the long-term consequences. As far as you students are concerned, you can cram for a month and pass an exam. But will you learn anything? You will not learn anything. You would have passed the exam, but you will be ultimately be stuck up with your long-term career suffering. Secondly, young people drop out of college, buy cars to impress people, and throughout their life they end up with low-paying jobs because the pain of studying had to be there and they forgo that. Then the long-term consequences are also the same. Labor unions do the same thing. They strike for higher pay without understanding the economics of a business, and ultimately the laborers, the employees, they lose their jobs. And a classic example was the textile mill strike in Mumbai, where lakhs of mill workers have been rendered homeless and poor because they didn't understand that the textile industry was dying. There was no way the textile guys could pay off. The unions, they were only bargaining, we want money. Had they looked at the future of the textile industry, everything would have been salvaged. Criminals engage in robberies, burglaries, theft to get immediate funds at the cost of a ruined life and a social stigma. Again, it's short-term gains versus long-term pains. Politicians, our country's politicians, the farm waiver loan scheme was nothing but for short-term electoral gains. They try to give something, don't understand that how badly they do for the economy or the country. The pull of the E factor is very strong. It causes the vast majority of men and women to indulge themselves at whim, to ignore the secondary long-term consequences of their actions by refusing to delay gratification. If you are smoking, you know that you are smoking, long-term consequences is going to be bad for your health. But still, your inability to delay that instant gratification gets you into that trap. The E factor is the most important factor, the expediency factor. It explains almost all the failures in your life. You can reflect back. Your homework for today would be just reflect back on your own self and see whether if you have applied all these things to yourself, whether is it right or wrong. In fact, in every generation, it's only 5%, less than 5% of men and women, who are able to consciously, fight against the gravitational pull of the E factor. One of the most important qualities for success is your ability to develop self-discipline. The willpower to force yourself to do what you know you should do, when you should do it, whether you like it or not, or whether you feel like it or not. There was this guy, Napoleon Hill, the author of Think and Grow Rich. After a lifetime of studying some of the most successful men and women, came to the conclusion that the ability to exert self-discipline on oneself is the master key to riches. Successful people are simply those who make a habit of doing what unsuccessful people don't do. And what are the things that unsuccessful people don't like to do? They are the same things which even successful people don't like to do. But successful people understand that you have to delay instant gratification in order to go ahead in life. And it is this price of success which successful people are always willing to pay, which makes the difference. Every act of self-discipline will strengthen your ability to resist something which is not good for you. In fact, strength of character is simply the ability to resist acting in a lazy, greedy, ambitious, selfish, ignorant, and a vain way. The key to success in life is to resolve to do what you know what you should do, what other successful, self-disciplined people do, when you should do it, whether you like it or not. True self-esteem is the foundation quality of your success, which comes only by mastering yourself, resisting the temptation to take the fastest and the easiest way, and sticking to what you know to be right until you win through. It's ultimately the patience which you have over a period of time which is going to be the really test of what sort of character you will build up in future. This is the psychology, the mindset of success. Self-esteem requires discipline, and self-discipline ultimately builds self-esteem. It's a chicken and egg situation. It just goes round and round, but once you make a habit of this, then over a period of time you will know that your self-esteem is so high that you will be able to take on any challenges which may come your way. There are certain universal principles in life which don't change even if people change, times change, technology changes, geography changes, government changes. There is one thing like the law of the farm. You cannot sow something today and reap tomorrow. Every seed which is sown will have to go through different seasons. It will take time before the seed becomes a fully grown tree. And so is the case with your life, that nothing can happen. We all were in our mother's womb. We came out, we all took X number of years to be that. Did you ever hear of a 60-year-old person becoming this thing 60 years in 2 years? You cannot. Now these are universal principles. And what we do is today, our life is tuned to nature. It is but natural that we follow the laws of nature. Success in our life comes with our ability to understand that actually there are no shortcuts. If one goes for such shortcuts, one is bound to fail. It's happening in the stock markets, which they think there's a different session where I'll show you how a shortcut, they think, not only damages people's wealth, but it makes them bankrupt. Look at the successful investors around you. They are successful, like people like Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger. They all are there because they follow the natural principles of the farm. Cannot sow today and reap tomorrow. This understanding of human nature will help the investor understand the simplicity of investing. Investing is really simple, but the industry has made it very complicated. In its quest for instant gratification, it has woven a web of complexity to confuse the investor, the same investor on whom the full industry is dependent. Now this is going to be the biggest challenge for you over these 14 sessions, that finance, stock markets, these are no great things to even understand, no great things. If you have the little amount of, first is simplicity to understand a simple thing. My experience in the financial market has told me that every financial innovation in the market is always against the interest of the user. We'll take all those financial instruments throughout our course for you to realize how you are in a financial jungle and it's up to you how to take care of it. Now how do you take care of that? You care of that first is understanding that you are your first enemy. It's you. It's your not ability to have self-discipline. It's you who don't have self-esteem because you have never practiced self-discipline, that you become your enemy and you allow other people to exploit you. Now, We are more concerned with developing our IQ. And we always concentrate on the IQ part. All colleges, schools, they are only made to teach you IQ. I am happy that this is the first time GIM has recognized that there is something very different which is required for our students. And they saying throughout India, this is the first college who has really recognized that we require a full-time course on behavioral finance. Believe me, full-time, I am not a professor as I told you. For me to give you a full-time course was next to impossible. So what I have done is, I have collected a lot of material from different scholars in the area of psychology, and I'll see to it that every time I'm not just making lectures to you, I'm going to share certain videos of different people, then we're going to have certain quizzes. So we're going to make it very interactive, otherwise this is a very dry subject. Because what I have told you just now, this thing is the beginning. But then ultimately we're going to see step by step how we try to understand our behavioral anomalies and how we understand other people's behavioral anomalies and how we benefit out of that. It's a highly selfish thing to do, but you can't help it, because when everyone around you is making certain mistakes and you know that these are the mistakes, then life becomes very simple. In fact, Daniel Goleman in his book Emotional Intelligence brings out the concept of emotional quotient very convincingly. Parents want their kids to study in the best possible schools. The motive behind such action is belief that surroundings, classmates, teachers would help their kids realize the true potential, which would help the kid to achieve great success when he grows. The potential is often measured as scoring high on tests and recording high IQs. But many times we fail to understand if IQ alone guarantees success, or is there something else. Just take a look around you and you would notice that there are numerous people who are not really smart but are doing very well in terms of achieving financial well-being and importantly achieving happiness as well. On the other hand, there are numerous people who, in spite of being brilliant in terms of IQ, pan out low in the race of life and end up getting stuck up in the corporate ladder and fail to achieve constant close dose of happiness and contentment. This anomaly is better understood by understanding what scientists call emotional quotient, which is EQ, relates to the composure of a person. A person's ability to think clearly in times of hurdles faced in life, then the ability to accept that failures are a part of life. Failures are always stepping stones to getting into the success of life. Give you an example of my own. I was in the Sydenham College after my MCom. There was an entrepreneurial management course at the Sydenham College. So, well, we were young, like I was just like you people, trying to do something. So my idea was to set up a small to a medium scale industry and try to employ people, set up a factory, because that was the right thing to do. We were in the industrial revolution time. That time we didn't have anything like the computers, so you couldn't think of a technology or an internet sort of a thing. So this was the only thing which we could think. And I made a project report on plastic collapsible tubes. Now, during those times, of course, none of you guys would have seen anything of that sort. We had aluminum foil collapsible tubes, where toothpaste, medicines, all would come in those aluminum foils. And my idea was, once in a way, if something comes from abroad, a paste comes, then you see it's plastic, nicely laminated. So those things were very rare during those times. So I thought maybe I will set up an industry manufacturing this. So I wrote to some of those Japanese manufacturers, German manufacturers, tried to find out, made a project report, working on it for a year, and fairly satisfied that this would be a good business to be in. And well, I failed. The reason? I had not used my common sense, and I was advised by the professor that please, for God's sake, don't venture into any business venture, because you are not able to really do a thorough research on what has to be done. I told, but I have done this. I have done everything properly. This is what is there. No, you have missed out on the most important thing. I told, can I know what is it? Well, the answer was, there are too many rats in India. Toothpaste is sweet, and if it is plastic, then toothpaste, the rats will chew the toothpaste. The plastic, and eat the toothpaste. So it's one of the most unviable projects ever. Well, I had a professor who didn't understand how the future was unfolding. And this was in 1979. 1984, there was this company, SL Packaging, by this Z guy, Subhash Chandra. They came out with a project to make plastic collapsible tubes, and today it's one of the best performing companies, made a lot of money for its shareholders. And here was this guy who told me that this is an unviable project. Now what happened with this was, it was a failure for me. Now every failure teaches us something, as long as you believe in what you are doing. If your self-esteem is fine, if you have self-belief, then you cannot go wrong. I went to my father's friend, dejected. I told him that, well, I failed. He told, how did you fail? You are making a project. How did you fail in that? Because how can someone say the project is nice or bad? Unless a project comes into play, 2-3 years goes, then you know whether the business is right or wrong. How can you fail in something? I told, well, this was the way the system worked at that point of time. He saw my project report, and then he told me, I am happy that you failed. I don't understand what you mean by you are happy that I failed. Yes, I don't think you deserve to go through the bureaucracies of the government, the sales tax officers, water problems, raw material shortages, labor problems. I didn't understand. I told, what is this? If you start an industry, all these problems are there. If you can make a project report like this, if you can make or understand a business like this, then why do you want to go and set up an industry? Why don't you go to the stock market, understand certain businesses, invest in them, and when you believe that not everything is good, then you get out of that. Entry is fast, exit is fast, and you will be definitely able to do away with every bureaucratic hurdle. And that's how I came in the markets. Was the first one to start the research. I would say I was the first one to start research in the Indian equity capital markets. That time nobody was doing research. I did it because I was a failure somewhere and I wanted to do something, and I believed that this was the right thing. And ultimately, after 5 years, when we opened up our economy, after about 8 to 10 years, when we opened up our economy, now today only you hear about all research report by different analysts, and the financial markets have grown. So the point I'm trying to make is that even if you fail, it's the courage you have to keep to go on going. Failures, I would say, always stepping stones. The second stepping stone which I just discussed with you was the technology boom. Don't need to worry about the technology boom, because something else would come out from this.